welcome to Sporting Jibberish. I'm Jibberish.
I'm Jonathan.
Back together again.
I know. What's the song about that, no?
We're almost wearing, you've got the old kit on.
Yeah,
You've let me down there.
Well, nobody gives me the new kit.
I'll hook you up. I've got a spare top upstairs. I'll sort you out. Anyway.
We won't need them soon, though, will we?
No. Well, have we officially announced that?
We'll just keep drip feeding it.
Okay. Right.
Like the media do. Drip feed, you know.
Drip feed. Well, there's plenty going on in the media at the moment with regards to what's going on in football. Haaland, I want to talk a little bit about him today. Okay. We'll cover the Premiership. The title's pretty much over, but still to play for in a couple of cups for the old Reds. And then we'll look at the bottom end and also potential teams to come up from the Championship. And you would definitely say, looking at one of the playoff games, it is uninspiring.
Yes.
Teams will be hoping one side of the draw wins because of that. Do you fancy going to Luton on a Tuesday night?
Well, I think...
Or Huddersfield.
We'll discuss it, because I think there's only one team I think football lovers would like to see.
I agree with that. But I think they were my pick at the beginning of the season to get promoted. So
and a shocking start, didn't they?
Terrible start. It was almost a Crystal Palace story.
Yes.
But we'll go.
You love that documentary, don't you?
Great documentary. Breaking news from the Old England cricket camp.
Yeah, because it's Thursday night. We're recording this Thursday night because we've got a weekend ahead of us.
Yeah, so we'll say this now. Good luck, Fogs. It is Stag Do this weekend. The fact that you've got Mike Lowry, Ian Larkin organising. I was going to say Audrey, but he's such a girl.
Yeah. You've got Mike Lowry, Ian Larkin, jam season for and Switzerland.
Yeah. So good luck, Fogs.
Should we give him that drink?
You don't have to drink if you don't want to. You're okay, mate.
It's your stag do.
Yeah. But
you never know. That's stag do went on. Matt's still got your wardrobe. In fact, he still wears everything.
Yeah, he probably does. Probably takes the dogs for a walk, but
and he definitely should have kept that wig.
Yeah, probably does. Probably makes Mrs. wear it, but that's another story. Anyway, right, we'll start with our sporting week. So I'm going to jump in first because we need to get this show on the road because there's a big game tonight.
Yeah, you're going, aren't you?
So unfortunately, Energizer, who were due to play, who were bottom of the league, have since pulled out and not been able to field the team, which
I offered my services.
Yeah, you did offer your services, but unfortunately, I did say you count as two players, but they were having none of it.
I'm that good.
Yeah, that's where I was referencing that one. But yeah,
looking forward to marking you out of the game.
Yeah, centre back. But yeah, unfortunately, that game is null and void. So we've got 3-0 win. Normally, though, in a league situation, which does confuse me, but it's actually worked in our favour slightly, which may, after I've announced this, may then work against us because they'll probably revert to the old, is if a team pulls out and can't fulfil its fixtures, all the games are then wiped from the league and all points are docked. So AFC Dubai are currently top. So anybody doesn't know it, AFC Dubai are leading the league by 2 points.
Okay.
With one game left. And we've got one game left after this. So what should have happened is you take all the points off everybody, goal difference. Well, we scored more against them in the first game than AFC Dubai did in their 2 games. So it would take more goals off us, meaning that we would need to win that last game by more.
But are they 2 points ahead with the points docked?
Yeah, it would be the so they would. That's what
because you only played them once.
We only played them once. They played them twice, and I think they won by 1 goal, and then they won a 3-0.
Okay.
We won our game 5-1.
Right.
Plus the potential 3-0 win that we get tonight. So taking that into account would mean our goal difference would be worse off. So as it stands, the permutations are Irish win, we win our last game, we win the league.
Okay.
Irish draw, it goes down to goal difference.
If you win the last game.
If we win our last game's next week now.
Okay, yeah.
But we need to win by a swing of 12 goals.
Oh, and that's tonight. So if tonight AFC Dubai
win the league, they've won the league.
Okay.
They win the game tonight, they win the league. Which I anticipate they will do. I just think they have a little bit more prowess on the pitch that should get them over the line. But
that's reverse psychology there, isn't it?
No, well they're not going to watch this till afterwards anyway, are they?
So we should.
We did say about doing it live, but pitch side that would have really put them up, cat amongst the pigeons, wouldn't it? I nearly swore then. But yeah, it's like I said, I think it's AFC Dubai to lose. So unless they have a complete collapse, but I just think they've got too many good. They are not strong at the back, which I think can be got at.
And how good are Irish though, aren't they?
Irish are not bad, but
I've heard they've got Robbie Keane up front tonight.
Yeah, I believe they've drafted in a few.
Robbie Keane.
Jack Charlton, back from nowhere.
From the dead.
From the dead, he's played centre back.
And he's English anyway.
Yeah, well, he was manager of them. Did it actually matter?
Mick McCarthy.
I'm sure at one point they tried saying Gascoigne because he drank Guinness.
Yeah, probably. Mick McCarthy, the best Irish accent I've ever heard.
Yeah, so we're gonna. Well, I'm gonna go along to that game tonight and see how that gets on. So yeah, looking forward to that. So in terms of games, nothing for to report back. Dash training session Monday night, but I think we're entering a summer 7-a-side league.
Oh, very good.
Against open age bracket.
Well, be sweaty.
It will be. I think it's end of May for 6 weeks.
Well, at the minute, touch wood, the weather's actually decent.
Yeah, well, we've just been at cricket fixture, haven't we? And it was hot when it started, but by the end, it's nice.
It's nice now. Yeah.
Nice now, but yeah. So that's me in a nutshell, Luffers. What about you boys?
Nothing really. We've just obviously we won the Ramadan Cup last week. We've decided to sort of have a break because again, a bit like any sport, you can play all year round, but we feel that we need a break. Obviously, we don't have loads of members, so entering a midweek cup or whatever, but we don't want it to be a hassle getting sides. One or two of us, I think, need a break as well, carrying a few injuries or
you're
not.
You're not any younger, are you, Jack?
Correct. So yes, I think we've sort of knocked that on the head. So now it's all kind of preparations for next season. So we're gonna have a committee meeting, I think, in the next week or so, and then launch the next season. Dave's organising the tour, so we've just confirmed the tour shirts today. So there's always bits going on behind the scenes. So, and we're constantly getting messages about joining and that. So hopefully, once we do launch, and we'll probably do it over Zoom again because I think it seems to be the easiest thing. That we'll have lots of people turn up to that, and then obviously lots of people join membership, and hopefully the plan is to expand in terms of senior side and some juniors involved. I'm quite keen to see if we can get some women's cricket off the ground. And then also I want to talk to me about other sports, so maybe touch rugby, netball, sourcing.
Well, so if there's anybody out there that fancies playing on the female side, get in contact with Luffers and see what we can sort out. Just out of interest, because somebody asked me this today. So you currently play in the DSL.
Yeah.
So the DSL is just explain to people at home because you've won the league, but how's it structured in terms of, like, we have a Premier League. If you win Division 1, you move into the Championship into Premiership. How does it work in DSL?
Not really. I think actually that's my biggest criticism of cricket in the UAE, full stop, that there's not, the structure is not brilliant. So there's not, in any of the competitions you play in any of the Emirates, there's not necessarily that pyramid system. Doesn't mean that the quality's not there, and I think that's actually more of my frustration. Actually, the quality is there. If there was a proper system, it would be even better, in my opinion. But obviously, as you well know, it's all about sort of money and individual projects, I guess. So in terms of the DSL, which is the best competition, we were in the league we won was the Elite A or something like that, which was basically the second tier in semi-pro stuff. They have a pro league, which they call Division A or Division whatever. Then there's one below that, which is the one we were above. Now, there's not necessarily an actual promotion relegation because, again, as you all know, sides are formed and then collapse, and it depends who's got the most money, which is why we're quite unique at the Wanderers because we're actually a club rather than just a team. So again, it'll be about, I think there's a captain's meeting in June, I think. It'll be who's interested in playing and what league you want to go in. It's not like, a new club couldn't go straight into Division 1. Mm-hmm. There's got to be some. So we will go up. Our aim is to go into, well, to be quite honest with you, I think we'd match the pro sides, quite frankly. Like I say pro sides, they're not all first-class cricketers. It means that a business owns the club and is paying a lot of players, and those will be semi-pros, pros from here, Pakistan, maybe India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh.
So the overall aim is to get into that top tier. So it sounds more like a franchise thing.
Yes, that's the word I was looking for.
A structured pyramid. But next year you're going to go upper division.
We want to go at least one division up with the first team.
And with regards to the standard, do you think it's going to change much, or do you think it's going to be similar to what you've
Well, I think look, if let's just argument say that the tiers, if you like, were the same as this year, then the one above us, I don't think there's a great deal of difference. Other than there's probably more better teams, if that makes sense. So in the one that we won, there was probably
2 or 3 good teams.
2 or 3 really
Average
good teams, average teams, and there were a couple sort of, I wouldn't be unfair to make up the numbers.
Whipping boys.
But ended up being whipping boys, but ultimately actually had some good individuals in there. So I think if the next league, as of last season, more of the top tier games. But like I said, we did play, if you remember rightly, way back quite early in the year, we were meant to play Titans and we went away and they had half of their side was the top team who were getting all the money, and we gave them a good run for the money. So there's no doubt if we went into the top league, we would probably need to recruit 1 or 2 more. But we'll see. And the other downside to that is that if the model is the same as it was this year, quite a lot of those top tier games play at night in the week, which obviously doesn't suit
The Abu Dhabi guys.
It doesn't suit Abu Dhabi guys. It doesn't suit quite a large majority of people like myself who are teachers. We've got 4 or 5 of those, I think. And also, more importantly than that, it doesn't really suit what we're trying to build in terms of social, family, inclusive. So we'll see. There's no doubt we'll go a bit higher and we'll play at a better level. But I'm confident we'll still do really well.
Okay, we'll look forward to seeing what's going on. Right, so we're going to go with the Premier League. We're going to talk through a few results and I'm going to ask you about Alfie. And then we'll go through that. But last week, we can't announce any fantasy football because there's still a small fixture tonight. And we're going to talk about that in a bit more detail.
I've got a right night.
Well, and we'll talk about your predictions. Here's the reason why you're not coming.
I've got a right night. I've got work to do, I've got stuff to pack this for, and I've got 2 big games of football to keep an eye on.
We shall see.
I'll have less there in the morning than I've got now.
Possibly. Right, so last weekend on Saturday, so Brentford spanked Southampton in a 3-0 win. It looked like it could have been more early doors when Brentford went 2-0 up within the first 10 minutes, I think.
Yeah, I didn't say anything.
And then it looked like it was going to be
socialising.
Yeah, it looked like it was going to be one way the street, but it finished 3 in the end. I think scored the next one at half time.
They've done really well under Brentford.
Yeah, done really well, and I think they've surprised a few teams, being very strong at home, which is always key. You make your home games a fortress, and they've done that, and they've done that against the better teams.
And I do think that, I know you're sort of, jury's still out on him, if we can get back to his very best, and I think that's a fair comment there. That the signing of Eriksen's quite shrewd, because, and obviously we don't see every minute, but if you read the reports and read what, he's obviously had a decent influence on the side, I think.
That probably, what I looked at is more just the impact on the playing side, and I don't think he'll be as he was, but you are right. Probably the fact that you are now training alongside Eriksen suddenly just brings everybody up a notch, and then his standards and his ability will then, they say you want to get better playing with better players, and having him in the changing room and the experience and the ability that he does have, but I think the consistency is gone, and maybe his impact in games is not as it used to be in his pomp at Spurs, but it'll be buoyant for Brentford, and Tony and Bueno will be loving life.
I don't think be interested to see what happens there, because I don't think that Tony would be a bad signing for
Spurs.
Well, any side like as a second. It's whether he would want to go from Brentford, where he's top man, to a side like Spurs, or I don't know, like even a Man United, Arsenal, where he would probably likely be second choice. That's the decision he wants to make, isn't it?
The game I did watch was Burnley against Aston Villa. And
Hamilton blew down.
Yeah, I wouldn't have said that Burnley. I just think Villa played well. Bueno had a great game, was lively in and around. Villa just looked strong in the attack. Watkins looked good. Ings looked lively. And unfortunately, Burnley just couldn't live with Villa. Just showed they had a bit more class. And as much as Burnley huffed and puffed, and they did try, and Weghorst threw himself around about up front, and Barnes did the same. McNeil wasn't too bad. He's had probably a bit of a better spell. He's in a bit of a purple patch at the moment. But unfortunately, I think the class just told in the end, and Villa won that one 3-1. I didn't see the Chelsea game, but having been, was it 2-0 up? Or no, did they go 1-0 down, 2-1 up?
Yeah, when I got in from my socialising, that game was on, and I just got in just as Cody got the equaliser.
No, Cody set up the equaliser.
Oh, they had a good day, you said.
Yeah. Did Cody
score?
Did he
score the equaliser?
I don't know if it was Cody scored.
I can't remember, but
because it upset Matt about the coffees, didn't it?
Oh yeah, sure.
It's very particular about his coffees. So finished 2-2, so Chelsea will be a bit disappointed with that. But again, it's just another point, probably seen out the season now. and a chance to probably rotate and rest players ready for this weekend. Palace 1, Watford 0, which signed Watford as relegated team. And then the result of the day, Brighton 4, Manchester United 0. Now, I had a comment off a parent today, and he contacts me every now and again, and we had a bit of a chat, and he sent me his email, and basically just like, Liverpool doing really well, I think they've thrown it away with the draw. Not a big fan of Man City. It'd be interesting how they do against Real Madrid, but Real Madrid seem to have that bounce back ability. It's almost like everything's going their way this year. And then he was like, Man United, they're like the Indian football team. They're that bad. He could say that because he's Indian.
Yeah.
But it did make me giggle because then I said to Ben in the office, and I repeated back, and Ben's a United fan. He's like, can't argue. I tell you what is interesting. I heard this week is Gary Neville's come out and said De Gea and Ronaldo the only two that can hold their heads up after the season. Agree with that?
I haven't seen a great deal. I think stats-wise, goals-wise, you can't argue with the comment about Ronaldo because he scored like 20 goals plus in all competitions. And
is that what he's on?
Kept him in the Champions League, didn't he, for a little bit longer than perhaps they deserved, and has scored. He's got the winner the other week against Brentford at home, wherever it was.
Yeah.
He got the hat-trick against Spurs, so basically single-handedly won that game, and they're just a couple side. Can't necessarily disagree with that. De Gea, I'm not so sure. I think he's pretty overrated, but then he is one of the best goalkeepers, they say. So are you going to get anybody better? Probably not. Rest of them, yeah, you'd probably agree with. You'd have to, wouldn't you? I
think the only one I could fought an argument for would have been Luke Shaw at the beginning of the season. I thought he started well.
There's something gone on there.
Something's happened. I don't know if it's an injury or fitness levels, but yeah, he can't get back in.
And also, because he made a comment, didn't he, when he was on England duty, the last time that he enjoyed playing for England more than Man United, and the atmosphere's better. So there's something that's gone on there. I thought the other lad who's not done too bad when I've watched is Lindelof.
Yeah, but I think when you leak so many goals,
your defence is going to be
they're going to be. So Varane's been a disaster.
I just find Ronaldo's reaction of. We've talked about this, and I harp on about things like narratives, but I'm telling you now, if it was any other player laughing when that fourth goal went in, say that was Harry Maguire laughing, or Lingard, Rashford, they would have been absolutely slammed in the press for, I don't know, not caring, don't care, they're disrespecting the club, disrespecting their colleagues. When Ronaldo does it, it's like the best thing ever. It just shows he's just had enough. Nobody's to his level.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It won't be wrong. Well, I think at some point is that rather than getting bent up with frustration and doing something like Haaland does, is that maybe sometimes you have to laugh. It's that bad.
I agree with you. My point is.
Oh no, I get it.
I agree with you because that's.
While you're wearing the top and you're a professional, you should be doing your utmost to try and drag them out.
Behind closed doors, do what you want. Yeah, just go in. Because I remember as captain of the cricket team, sometimes when you get rolled for like 65, and it's happened in lots of times in my career. There's nothing you can say because for whatever reason, everybody's bad in the same day, or everything's gone against you, or whatever like that. You just have to laugh and go. Do you know what, lads? Let's get in the bar. Let's go again in a week. Yeah.
Interesting what Pep did, didn't he? After the Champions League. He said he just didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
He said there was nothing to talk about. Players just needed sleep. So we'll talk about it in a couple of days.
And do you know what? I bet they haven't talked about it.
Possibly not. Well, there's not really much you can say. When you
back
to a team for that long and then you fall asleep for the last 2 minutes of the game.
Told you why.
Right, Liverpool played Spurs in what I can only describe as a viewer. I've never been so angry finishing a game. I couldn't even speak to you. If you text me, I was like, I'm not talking to you. I was angry at you, I was angry at Spurs, I was angry at Conte, and I was like, I've never seen a team with that much talent try and time waste in the first half. I get, and I'm not naive enough to think that you wouldn't want to go toe-to-toe with Liverpool, but you showed that when you did attack us, there was potential to get there. I found it mega frustrating to watch, the fact that I thought there was just the dark arts involved in it, and I just thought that I always had Spurs down as a little bit better than that.
But I expected nothing less because that's how Conte plays the game. When he knows that we're not good enough to go toe to toe, we did show patches, and to be fair, towards the end, I was a bit like you that actually, I don't know. I'd rather But of course I would not have lost, because if we lose and then Arsenal win, tonight is almost irrelevant. So it's not that, but I do think towards the end, could we have just gone a little bit more?
There was gaps there, wasn't there? Liverpool needed the win, they were pushing and pushing.
But the problem is, all it does highlight all the time is that the midfield, we've got no quality. And we've got no quality in midfield. The two wing backs aren't good enough.
Well, your wing backs didn't get out; they just defended, didn't they?
And that's why. Everyone said, "Oh, what a great game, Emerson Royale," because he didn't have to do anything. Well, the ball he hoiked forward that came to for the goal was just like, I don't know what he was doing in that position in the first place.
He probably had his best game I've seen him play.
Oh yeah, without a shadow. But and that's, I don't know. I just think I didn't expect anything less. I think as well, it probably just, it's strange that Liverpool. I think that from my point of view, that Liverpool really opened us up, which surprised me.
I just think he made himself nice, deep, compact, very hard to break down. The chances we had were probably Van Dijk's headers, where he hit the bar, and the other one where he headed over.
Yeah.
You score one of them early doors, it's a different scenario. And you could even argue that Diaz's goal is an element of fortune, because it's took a huge deflection and gone into the bottom corner.
Yeah.
So
I must have been watching it when that went in. I'm like, you'll do, isn't it? Because of the element of fortune of that.
Well, it's one of them that a couple of years ago. Do you remember that when we were needed to win that game? It was 1-0 to you guys, and we scored one in the 88th minute, and then Luis drops one.
And
then we scored to make it 2-1. We ended up winning the game. That's what I was hoping was going to happen, but it didn't happen, and I wouldn't have said it's handed the title to City, because we still needed City at some point to drop points.
Instead they've got to score 10 goals.
Instead they've just gone and destroyed the goal difference, which is just another level. Probably the best team's going to win the league, because and this is interesting to Gerrard, and he was saying that regardless of us talking about Spurs frustrating Liverpool, it's not about that one game, it's about the other 37 games and how you've done over the season. And we look back at the draw against Brentford. Other games where we've missed points.
I saw somebody say, a Spurs fan, about same thing about us, it comes down to this. And then he was going, but we should have, we had that blip, 3 weeks ago. I said, it's not about that, it's a whole season, there's a lot more games. And and you can even hark back to the fact that why on earth did we not get Conte in the summer? Because clearly he was the number one choice. Why did it not happen?
And there's also a risk of you losing this year as well.
I've said for a long time.
There's a narrative coming out about PSG, and then I've heard the narrative about who your replacement be.
Potter.
I don't think that's the worst.
I think he's overrated.
You're just anti-English, you.
No,
Potter's not overrated. He's a good, strong coach, and I think he'll get you playing. But
I've said before, Spurs and Conte, and to a lesser extent probably now Kane, but it's not connected to Champions League football. We could get Champions League football, and both or Conte could still leave, because it's about being backed in the winter. In the summer, sorry.
And whoever wins the league, you've not dropped points to. You've not lost to, sorry.
Not lost to,
Beat City twice.
And
drawn Liverpool twice.
Yeah.
And then we went to Sunday, and all eyes turned attention to, Highbury then, the Emirates Stadium, to watch Arsenal play Leeds. As a Spurs fan, you wanted Leeds to win. As a neutral, I didn't really care. I watched the game, and it was a tight affair for the first minute and a half. And then Leeds keeper makes an absolute howler. Like you don't learn from what you saw Stefan do in the cup final against Liverpool, where he gets caught by Mane. He then opens his body up, loose touch, lad runs in, taps it in, 1-0. Then it goes from bad to worse. Ireland, which had nothing tackled in the bottom corner. But the thing is, what got me is Martinelli's not one of them players that's in there with elbows and nasty and just to wind you up. He's just running the corner and just going, I've got a chance to nail him here. Just a stupid, no-need tackle. He's going nowhere. If anything, he's already passed the ball back to you by trying to keep it in. You've kicked it out to give away a corner and then gone over the top and smashed it.
My biggest thing about that, you are ridiculous from Ireland, particularly his captain on the day.
That's Arsenal boy.
Yeah, I cannot, for the life of me, and think why the referee on the field of play cannot say that's not a red card straight away. And that's where, and lots of people have said it, and particularly old man goes on about it, and he probably watches a bit more of the football, and particularly like the Sky Sports shows. And you know when Dermot Gallagher, the standard of refereeing, forget VAR, is absolutely abysmal.
But I'll not throw this in to defend anybody, but do you think that he's gone, I think it is, but I'm just going to go with the yellow because if they'll have a chance to look at it and review it and then they'll make a decision. So is he potentially, or have they been told to err on the side of caution and then they'll upgrade if they need to?
I think there's an element of that. I do honestly.
But we'll only know that once we can hear.
Yeah, and I think there was an element of that. There's an element of almost the officials relying almost on VAR.
But VAR's done its job.
But it's this, it has done that. It's the same in cricket and other sports. Who was I talking to? Where they got TV now? Maybe it was rugby. Somebody saying we was having a similar discussion that actually there's too much reliance on, like cricket, tight LBW, or they've got 2 reviews left. I'm going to give it not out or out, whichever way they go, because actually, if they're unsure, they can challenge me. That's not how you officiate sport, is it?
No. But then the only way you're going to go away from that is you could take VAR out of the situation.
Yeah, see,
and you go back to refereeing.
I wouldn't have a massive. Same with cricket, wouldn't have a massive issue with that, but we're beyond that now.
Yeah. Arsenal take the points, put Leeds into the quagmire, which is then even pushed even further with Everton going and getting a result at Leicester. I said about that Everton 20. Good result, which kind of gets them a little bit out of it. And now with the fact that Leeds and Burnley lost that weekend, actually puts them above, and even more so with the goal difference.
And they've got a game in hand as well.
Yeah,
still.
and they've got the game in hand. The other game was Norwich 0, West Ham 4. West Ham will be good to get another win under the belt after losing the Europe.
Yeah.
Maybe 7th place could still be in the offing. We'll have a look at the league table.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
And then City, everybody all eyes turn to City, see how they're going against Newcastle. Chris Wood missed a header right, 10 minutes into it. Right on his noggin, right in the middle of the goal, heads it right at Ederson.
He never got up though, did he?
Because I was just like, I almost, the way he went and headed it, he thought he was going to, it was almost like he was going, I'm offside, and just not going to keep it.
He never got on, never had it. And actually, I'm not saying, Linton was in a decent position behind him as well, wasn't he?
But yeah, and then City kicked in, and I tell you what was interesting, and I was watching this, was that Cancelo, he did this for his miss, but then also for the first goal, which was a great combination play to set Sterling up, is have a look at the way City play. So when the ball goes down the left-hand side of City, Cancelo, the right-sided player, goes all the way out to the touchline, does not get involved in the game, and puts himself on the touchline. If you watch this goal back, the one he scores with Sterling, and the volley he missed at the back post, he starts all the way out there. Maximum kind of sets himself inside, but a little bit ahead of him, almost like he's trying to cheat to break.
Yeah.
And then what happens is the right forward, who happened to be Sterling, pushes himself into the middle. Cancelo waits that ball's about to be delivered and then follows in. So he almost gets 2 attempts on a freebie because Maximum's not marking because he thinks he's so far wide he's not going to get in there, and then goes in there. So it's a definite ploy that they're working on. And it could have happened on the opposite side, but Grealish didn't move in. And he held, and you watch his position, he holds really high on the left-hand side and waits, but just doesn't, it's almost like doesn't commit because he thinks, it's almost an element of laziness, so he goes, oh, it's not going to come in. And then it does, and I guarantee Pep would have ripped renewal for that.
It's interesting, isn't it, that perhaps that's one of the ways that they've tried to alleviate the fact that no striker and wide, because there's no doubt, clearly there's got lots of goals from all areas of the pitch without a number 9 or whatever you want to call him, and maybe so that may be one of the tactics. But I did not notice that because he went through a few years back where these fullbacks were like inverted, weren't they?
Well, they still do that. They start wide and then they kind of come into the midfield position and then try to pick it up there. But then when they go on attacks, you'll see them. Have a look at this next time they play. Is they will stay high, really high and wide, and wait for the delivery to come in, and then will be a late run in at the back post, almost for like a nod in or a tap in.
Shows what. I'm not saying they've got better players all the way through the pitch than say Liverpool or whatever, but it probably just shows what calibre of player they've got for doing stuff like that and doing it well. Because actually, a lot of the time, even when he rotates, and it would frustrate me as a City fan sometimes, but there's never a change in quality really, is there?
Liverpool don't do that when they attack. Like Robertson will not. When Trent gets the ball, Robertson never goes in the back post very often. Liverpool do try and occasionally like a diag. They'll come back in 5 yards into the midfield and then a late diag into the back post.
Yeah, they'll get
done that a few times, but they don't do the late full-back runner into the back post to then try and cause like an overload.
They're different gravy, aren't they? They are.
Listen, both teams have been superb. Whoever wins the league this year fully deserves it because they have been class. And we're picking up Liverpool for drawing with Spurs and looking at some of the games, but you're fronting on 4 competitions, and they would have played by the end of the season every possible game they could have done, which is phenomenal. Look, it'll be massively disappointing for Liverpool fans if they don't pick up at least one more trophy. There's no reason that we can't pick up 2. I actually think Chelsea's a harder game.
I agree. I was about to say, I've had you. Excuse me. Yawning.
Sorry,
Talk
about Liverpool, you bored.
Just bored a bit, bored of 4 tracks. No, I actually think they've got a better chance against Madrid than Chelsea. Because I think Chelsea might well, because Tuchel's quite pragmatic, might well try and do something similar to what Spurs did.
Yeah. So we'll see that. But then City obviously won that game. Liverpool played Villa last night in what was a tight affair. And Villa gave it a little bit, didn't play too badly. Ended up losing 2-1 to Liverpool. Mane with a great header to win the game. Probably edged it on the evening, but if Villa play like that against City, they can cause problems. And I think Watkins and Ings were a problem with the direct running and the pace they've got. McGinn didn't have a bad game, he's a good player, gets on the ball a bit. And I'd say he's captain, but I thought Tyrone Mings was probably their weakest player.
Yeah,
I think he just gets caught a little bit.
I don't think he's before. I think the fact that he's left-footed centre half gets him into mid-table or a Premier League side, probably full stop, and gets him into the England squad.
And you know that Gerrard's not officially announced captain for next season yet. He wants to hold off that. So read into that what you want. That Mings has currently got the armband, but he's not.
So I think it's quite a big summer for Gerrard because I think they've got a base of really good players. There's some absolute quality.
I bet Gerrard wishes he was there a season early because the amount of money they spent last season on nothing.
Average,
Leon Bailey that they bought for Schumann, and then we've seen him kick a ball.
Because Grealish is like, if we had Grealish there, Grealish is a different player in terms of position, but he's a similar kind of character to Gerrard, as in, hometown boy playing for his hometown club, drag people on with him. He would love working with him, I think.
Yeah. Right, we'll just quickly cap the games up last night. Leeds again with what can be described as another self-exploding. I've not seen Danny James with red card yet, so I don't know what it's about, but he got sent off. Chelsea win 3-0.
Ted Lasso struggling.
Ted Lasso's in a world of trouble. It's going to be like Ted Lasso because he got relegated in Ted Lasso.
Did that? I didn't see that.
Oh, sorry, spoiler. Spoiler alert, it's a bit late. Spoiler alert.
No, because it was on free on Apple TV and then it wasn't free and I've not paid for Apple TV.
Alright, so yeah, they get relegated.
That's a shame.
Yeah, and then Leicester beat Norwich 3-0. Just keeps Leicester mid-table.
At least one Vardy had a party last night because Mrs. Vardy's not having much fun at the minute, is she?
Well, there's also with Colleen Rooney and all that malarkey. Is it Colleen Rooney?
Colleen Rooney, yeah.
Yeah,
and Rebecca Vardy.
Yeah.
But just as an aside for that, I'm not going to get into too much of it, but I did read that basically both sets of lawyers and the judges that they've been through various stages up at this point have both all pleaded with him to go, just settle it out of court, please settle it out of court. Because what they're suing each other, or what Colleen's suing Rebecca Vardy for now, is something like £1 million. But even the person that eventually wins will only get 700,000
because they spent so much on everything.
So they're not going to win anything.
It's just an ego now, isn't
it? But all it's doing is people saying it's spoiling their brand. I'm like, I always think back to my journalism qualification. They will say no news is bad news for brands like that. But yeah, I think Jamie's good to be getting out on the pitch.
Yeah, great player. Watford drew 0-0 with Everton. Everton could have done with more than a point, but it's another point away from Leeds.
Yeah.
And Wolves made an attempt at it, went 1-0 down, pulled it back to 1-0. Then the De Bruyne show happened, scores 4, finishes 5-1. Game over.
What a player he
is. Arguably the best midfielder in the world currently. And then it leads to this last game, which is tonight, which gives us Tottenham Hotspur hosting Arsenal at Spurs. What's going to happen, Jack?
I'd really like to be confident we're going to win, but it's such a massive game. I've got a feeling it's going to be a draw, which will rule us out, I think, of the top 4 then.
Well, I've just got the league table up now, so you both played 35, you both level points. They're on 66, you're on 62. So even a win for you would still put you.
You're still a point behind. We've got Burnley and Norwich to play our last 2 games. I can't just remember who Arsenal are, so there's no question that we need to win. And like I say, still only a point behind them. But then you would like to think that we win tonight, finish with 2 wins. That would take us to 71 points. So Arsenal have got to win both their games then.
Interesting, just looking at this table, obviously we know the top 2, top 3, top 4. Spurs in 5th at the moment. United takes the 6th place and West Ham currently sat in that 7th spot, which is interesting because, excuse me, I'm going to sneeze.
I've got to sneeze, you've got all sorts going on here.
It's not happening. Look at Wolves' point tallies on 50. 5 points behind West Ham.
It's happening now. Bless you!
Only the one, that's a surprise. But look at their last 5 games. Lost, drawn, lost. So 1 point in the last 5 games leaves them in a world of trouble when they're trying to chase West Ham.
Yeah, they've just, I think I always said last week, run out of steam. West Ham could still finish 6th because United only got 1 game to play and West Ham got 2 to play. So.
And the goal difference is United are on 1.
So if Man United draw their last game of the season, West, you probably fancy West Ham. But tonight, I don't know. It's going to be. I've got a big night of football ahead. I've got Spurs playing in a must-win game, and I've got my hometown club, Boston United, playing in a must-win game at the Agbra Stadium. Remember we telling you about the Agbra Suit?
Tell me about the Agbra Suit.
Yeah, the Agbra Suit. So they're playing there in the National Conference North Eliminator.
Right, and then the winner goes through to play
a semi-final.
Or to semi-final, and then it's player final.
Yeah, so I think they have to win 3 games or maybe 2 games. I can't remember.
Quick look at the bottom. Leeds on 34, minus 38 goals.
They're gone.
Burnley on 34, minus 17 goals. Everton 36 points, minus 19. Burnley and Everton do have a game in on Leeds. So
one of those games out Burnley is against Spurs. I know that.
So
one of their games left, I should
does
say.
not look good. Right, just going to pause Premiership. We'll not talk about next week's fixtures. The only one we need to know about is Liverpool versus Chelsea, FA Cup final Saturday night.
Oof.
If you're
still standing,
folks will be lucky if you can see the screen. You'll probably see about 4 of them. But looking forward to that. It's also bad shirt night, so Matty O'Leary will just wear a normal outfit.
I can say, Matt, just bring your wardrobe with me, alright?
Yeah.
To be fair, you've pulled one out to show me to think it's a bad shirt, and it's not bad enough.
No,
you'd actually bought it to wear.
Because I have great fashion sense, and I was like, this is the worst one I've got in my wardrobe, Jack. And you're like, that's better than my best one. But we'll talk about that another time. But I wanted to talk about is Haaland deal is done with regards to the fee has been sorted, which is a fee that's going to be paid over a few years. And it works out around about 51 million euros.
Okay.
Which I think
63 million pounds now, so is that right?
No, I think that it's dropped since then. Which is next to nothing. They've not agreed personal terms, but they're thinking that he's going to be in the ballpark figure of 400,000 a year for 5 years. Oh, the wife's ringing. That means you're in trouble. I don't know why she's ringing you.
Should we go on the podcast?
No, we're not going on the podcast. So that fee is I think ridiculous price. They got it for an absolute bargain.
Oh, yeah, bargain.
But what I'm going to ask you now, and I just want your honest opinion, who is going to score more goals in the Premiership? I'm just talking Premiership only. Haaland or Kane next season?
I don't know. You'd probably say if you're going to go with records, age, the way that probably Kane's game maybe evolved, I'm going to go Harry Kane still. Because I think it's a great sign, I agree with you, and it's a bargain. I think he'll be a hit, but we've seen it before, massive signs. The Premiership takes quite a lot to get used to. And City have to change their game a little bit, don't they?
I don't think they do. I think City will carry on playing the way they play. But I don't think he's going to be as good as everybody thinks, because teams already drop deep against City.
Yeah.
One of Haaland's biggest assets is his pace behind his acceleration. Well, teams aren't going to step up against that pace, and he's not that good in the air for a big lad. I think he'll have a patch where, and he'll probably prove me wrong, he'll probably start the season off on fire and score like 4 or 5 goals in the first 2 games. Everybody like, you're an idiot, bro, you know what we're talking about. But I think he could be another potential Lukaku where he starts well, drifts out, can't quite get into it, and then maybe in a season's time, then we'll see the better. But I think just put that.
Yeah, I think you've always, as a striker, and you probably include Salah in that. I think you always, if you're a betting man, it's a brave bet to go against like a Salah or a Kane because they're proven goal scorers. Kane's not scored as many this season, but he's been involved as many, and I don't think he's that far behind. It's a brave man in it to go, Haaland's going to score more than Kane and Salah, and even Mane, it's a brave man.
So you say that, and a guy put it on Twitter who'd score more, and people are slating him for it, saying Haaland will definitely score more than Kane.
I don't think he's an absolute shoe, and I agree with that. No. We'll see what happens.
So, last but not least, we just had this announcement about the ECB. They've gone with, is it Brendan McCullum? McCullum.
Yeah.
So, Jack, Brendan McCullum, a New Zealand cricketer, now in charge of English cricket.
Only 4 years old as well. I think it's a really good appointment. I think it's quite a brave appointment because he's obviously never done it before. He's a current coach of the Kolkata Knight Riders in the IPL, and has done some white ball stuff and things like that. So he's never coached red ball, but New Zealand are the number 1 test side of the world at the minute, and the current ICC World Test champions. That is on the back of what he started when he took over as captain in all formats.
Is that what you're putting down to? Is that your justification? Because what ream would an international team that wants to be one of the best in the world go with a guy with little international experience? I said that England did it with Southgate.
Yeah.
And risk based upon, is that you making a little bit of a narrative yourself there?
No, I think because, and I don't know the I like the way he plays the game. It's clear that obviously in a cricket dressing room, the captain has to say. The coach is there as a facilitator, if you like. Of course, he has a lot of influence, but it's not like in football. So when New Zealand have been through that change, he was pivotal to that in all formats of the game, and then obviously it's been carried on since he's retired. Owen Morgan, obviously the current England white ball captain, is very friendly with him and rates him very highly. And has openly said that when he's changed the fortune of England's white ball side, he conferred with McCullum a lot during, when he first took over as captain and during those early days. So, and I know for a fact because I watched the interview with Rob Key and Nasser Hussain last night actually, where Key talks about that. He's spoken to Morgan because there was an outside thing maybe Morgan could be the red ball captain. And he said he will go to it because Morgan is very highly regarded in terms of captaincy and the way he wants dressing rooms and atmospheres to be. So I think, taking all that into consideration, I think that Rob Key has obviously decided we need a complete culture change. We need a complete kind of, they called it the red ball reset.
You talk about culture. New Zealand are famous for that, not just in cricket, but in rugby. They
clear the decks.
Yeah.
So I think that's what he's decided, that having spoke to X, Y, Z coaches and maybe Stokes as a captain and other senior players, they probably said, you know what, we need to go away from a little bit of, almost like we're going to play the game of cricket like this on the field. We need to get the right atmosphere and the right people in the dressing room and the right, that fear of failure out the window and all those kind of things. It will definitely encourage them to play front foot cricket. He's a very positive individual, he's a very positive player when he played. So I think it's a good appointment. I think it's a brave one because of what you said, that no international coaching experience. If people said to you, Brendan McCullum, red ball coach, white ball coach, they'd go, white ball coach, sorry. So I think it's a brave decision, but I quite like it. I think what Key's doing is what he said he's going to do, and he wants to rip it up and start again. And I think if you went down the road of, and I'm not doubting their credentials, of Gary Kirsten or another guy who's been in around the international steaming test match cricket, because they kind of do all the international sides, I think you're just going to get a little bit more of the same.
So my question to you then is, obviously it looks like England ripping up the playbook, starting over again. How much time does he, because I know if you were talking about Premiership managers, you're lucky if you get half a season to make changes and make impact. And obviously Test cricket, or friendly cricket as we know now, it's played over duration of years rather than things. So how long would you expect it take for England to have an impact and then potentially be challenging for number one in the world?
Well, I would say if you look back at when with the culmination of when we won in 05 and then we became Test World Champions in, or not the World Championship, number one Test match in the world then at 2010, 2011. It was about a 5-year period, and probably a little bit longer than that if you think about it. But I think that the nuts and bolts of English cricket are probably better than what they were back then. So I don't know. He'll be judged when the Aussies arrive next summer 2024.
Is that not too quick?
That's the. I don't think I want to say judged. That'll be a point.
Because that's 2 years now.
That's like 2 summers old. Yeah, next summer. So I think probably 4 or 5 years. I think his biggest challenge is he's got to get. We're struggling with top order batters. He's got to come. He's got to try and get either he goes left field and brings in people on how to go, or he's got to get the best out of what we've got, and he's got to manage that transition between Anderson and Broad, because Anderson and Broad around next summer for the summer 2023 for the Ashes. Who knows? But we can't have a scenario where we've had in the winter where they didn't really play in the Ashes when they should have been. They then leave them out in the West Indies and we're just completely short. Do you know what I mean?
So whose responsibility is it that England's have got a lack of creativity in top order batting? Is it down to clubs are not producing? Is it down to the wrong selection?
Well,
is it not? Where's it just suddenly gone wrong? Because England have always had a traditional, at least one guy that was your mainstay. Where you go back to Alistair Cook days, you go back to Atherton, you know, and you can keep going back even Nasser to a point where you had this mainstay cricket. You thought he gets in there and he does his bit and he chips away, and he even though I always thought Alistair Cook, I was like, I'm sure he gets out more than he gets it, and then when you look at his numbers, they're phenomenal.
I mean, Cook made a Test career on 3 shots, a cut up and a little flick off his hips, and as an opening bat, it's the most difficult time to bat because the ball moves around, ticking red ball cricket. So I think in answer to your question, I think this is where people have a problem with the county game. I don't want to get too deep into it because, in all honesty, since Cook and Strauss retired, we've never replaced him. And then obviously when Cook retired, we've got 2 to replace. But the fact of the matter is that people have been given a chance to open the batting since then, or in and around that period, so probably we're talking about 10 years now, have been the opening batsmen in the county championships that have been scoring all the runs. Adam Lyth, Sam Robson, Lees at the minute, Rory Burns in particular, as a Surrey boy, ripped it up, and they were calling for him to be in the England side before he did. They thought it was a bit belated, but techniques that they've got can't survive in international cricket. So I think it's a combination, and I agree with a bit with Keir. I don't think there's a huge amount wrong with county cricket. I think the problem is when it's played. Opening the batting in April and May in England is bloody hard. And what happens then, you get dibbly dobblers like me or you running in, swinging it around. The world's best batsman can't cope with that because it just happens all the time. There's no pace in the wicket. So I think county cricket needs to move its schedule around.
So there's a chance for me this summer I could be called up.
Whose problem is it? And that's why it's probably a longer fix, because they're going to have to start looking at younger players in the top order and start grooming them, I guess, because the ones at the minute who are still playing I've had a go and I deem not good enough. Now, in my personal opinion, I think there's 1 or 2 who probably deserve another go because they've gone back to county cricket and continue to score loads of runs. So, but international cricket, there's a big gulf.
I was going to say, there must be a big volume.
And I think that is the problem, and that's why there are some people, Peterson being the obvious one, where he's calling for like another level, almost like a franchise county championship with the current county championship feeding in. And in those franchises where all the best players play, including 2 or 3 international overseas, so you're playing, almost test.
Responsibilities need to be.
Yeah, I mean it won't happen, like he says, because there's not enough money in the English game, and the English cricket game is entrenched in tradition and the counties. And I'm not saying that's what I want. I'm just saying that is not the quick fix. So McCullum has got a tricky job on his hands, as has Stokes. We'll see what happens. Be interesting what happens with the white ball coach because he's splitting the roles. I would suggest potentially Collingwood might get that, who's been in and around and well respected, or don't be surprised if Owen Morgan takes it on.
Hey, having said all that, Jack, what do you know?